Welcome to the deep dive. So today we're diving headfirst into something that sits right in the gut of pretty much anyone trying to build something new. Fear.
Yeah, fear in entrepreneurship. And we're digging into a specific source for this one, a YouTube video actually, called Cómo transformar tus miedos en estrategias de éxito. It's from the Connection Interactiva channel.
Right. And our mission here really is to unpack this core idea from the video. The idea that all those fears entrepreneurs feel, they aren't just, roadblocks.
Exactly. The video suggests they can actually become powerful strategies, tools even for success.
Right.
We want to pull out how that transformation actually works based on what the source says.
And look, if you've ever thought about starting a business, or maybe you're like knee deep in one right now, you know this feeling.
Oh, yeah.
That sort of cold dread about money.
Yeah.
Failing. Or that little voice saying, you're not ready. You don't have enough experience.
Right. Or the competition, market uncertainty, worrying if you'll have the resources.
It's universal, isn't it? That anxiety.
Yeah, totally. And, one of the biggest takeaways from this source is exactly that. These fears, they're not special to you. They're not just for people who don't make it. Even the really successful entrepreneurs, they felt these exact same things. The difference, the video argues, wasn't that they didn't feel fear.
It was what they did about it.
Precisely. They decided to face it, to actually actively work to turn it into a strategic advantage. That's the core idea we're exploring today.
Okay, so let's get into that. I mean, the source points out feeling fear is just basic biology, right? Protection.
Yeah, it's meant to keep us safe.
But when you're trying to build a business, it so often just feels like this invisible wall. It kind of limits your thinking, shrinks your decisions, keeps you playing small.
That's a great way to put it. An invisible wall. And the video lists those classic fears we just touched on. Running out of cash, feeling unqualified, the competitor down the street, the market doing something crazy, not having support.
They hit home because they are so common.
Right. But here's where the source gets really interesting. It makes this key point. The entrepreneurs who actually break through, they're not fearless. Not at all.
They just handle the fear differently.
Yes. They reevaluate it. They kind of look at it from another angle. So instead of just seeing fear as a big STOP sign,
they look for the opportunity inside the fear.
Exactly. That mental reframing is, crucial according to the video. For example, that fear of failure. It's not just a warning sign that things might go wrong.
Okay.
The source suggests seeing it as an invitation to build a system where you learn super fast from mistakes. Every little stumble, it becomes data, not, total disaster.
That makes me think of the Spanx example the video uses. Sarah Blakely, right? Facing rejection after rejection. The source highlights how she didn't just see every no as proof she was failing. It was feedback.
Right. She used that fear, the fear of it not working out, to just keep refining her approach, tweaking things.
And ended up with this massive company, initially without outside investors. That's a pretty powerful example of turning rejection fear into fuel.
It really is. Or, what about the fear of not having enough experience? Feeling like an imposter.
Yeah, that's a big one.
The video suggests reframing that too. Embrace the fact that you don't know the industry norms. See yourself as an apprentice, but one with fresh eyes.
Because you're not stuck in the "this is how it's always done" mindset.
Exactly. When you don't know how things should be done, you're actually in a great position to question everything, to innovate in ways the established players just can't see.
Like the Airbnb founders of the video mentioned. Designers, not hotel people.
Right. Their fear of jumping into this huge established industry without the right background, it didn't stop them. That outsider view let them totally reimagine the whole experience.
So their weakness, or perceived weakness, became a huge strength.
Precisely. So, recognizing you can reframe fear is one thing, but how do you actually, do it? The video gives some practical strategies here.
Right. Reframing is the mindset shift. What about the actions? The first one they mention is using fear itself, like a compass.
Yeah, that's the idea. Whatever makes you genuinely uncomfortable, maybe even a little scared to do in your business, that thing is probably sitting just outside your comfort zone. And that spot almost always is where the biggest growth and the best opportunities are hiding.
Wow. Okay. That's bold. Don't run from the fear, actually follow it.
Kind of. The video brings up Elon Musk. I mean, think about the enormous risk, right? Pouring everything into Tesla, into SpaceX, when so many people were predicting failure.
Yeah, absolutely terrifying, you'd imagine.
Those calculated but still terrifying steps. Maybe they were guided by the fear of not achieving the vision, and look where it led.
So the practical takeaway from the video there is what? Just do scary things.
Well, more structured than that. It suggests committing to doing one thing that makes you uncomfortable in your business every single week. Just one.
Okay. Like what?
Maybe it's hitting publish on that blog post you feel vulnerable about, or calling that potential client who seems really intimidating, or making an investment you've been hesitating on.
Let the fear point you to the edge.
And then just take one small step over it, regularly.
That makes sense. Okay, so using fear as a pointer, what's the next strategy the source talks about?
Another big one is proactively planning for your fears. Instead of just letting that what-if anxiety spin around and paralyze you, the video recommends actually identifying those specific fears, nail them down, and then create a real, tangible action plan for what you do if that thing you're afraid of actually happened.
Okay, like planning for the worst-case scenario to feel more in control. Can you give an example?
Sure. The source uses a good one. Say you're terrified your new product launch will just bomb. No one likes it.
Yeah, common fear.
Instead of freezing up or spending years trying to perfect it in secret, the fear-based plan would be build a really simple version first, a minimum viable product.
Get it out there quickly.
Exactly. Get it in front of a small group, get feedback immediately. That action doesn't make the fear vanish.
No.
But it gives you something concrete to do, it limits the potential damage of a huge public flop, and it builds confidence because you actually have a plan B, C, or D based on the feedback.
I see. It turns that vague dread into something manageable. A project. What else?
Community and mentorship. Hugely important, according to the source. Fear loves isolation.
Right. When you're alone with it, it just grows.
But when you share what you're going through, the worries, the challenges with other people who get it, people who've maybe been there,
the fear loses some of its power.
Yeah, it starts to shrink a bit. You realize you're not the only one. The video mentions things like incubators, sure, but it stresses it doesn't have to be that formal.
So finding local entrepreneur groups maybe, connecting with a mentor, even just building a network online.
Exactly. That shared experience, getting an outside perspective, it provides backup. It gives you courage you might not find on your own.
Makes sense. Don't go it alone. Okay, what else does this video suggest?
And finally, the source talks about the power of visualization.
Ah, okay. Not like magic wishing.
No, not at all. They frame it as a deliberate technique, a way to focus your mind and your energy.
Okay, tell me more. How does visualizing help with fear specifically?
Well, the exercise they suggest is pretty straightforward. Each morning, just take a few minutes, close your eyes, maybe, and visualize what a successful day in your business looks like. Feels like, sounds like.
Be specific.
Yeah. What actions did you take? How did you handle a challenge that came up? What did you actually achieve? The video argues that doing this consistently helps, reprogram your mindset a bit.
Shifting focus.
Shifting focus from all the potential problems towards the outcomes you actually want. It kind of primes you to act with more confidence, more bravery during the day.
Moving from being reactive and fear-driven to more proactive and goal-oriented. Interesting.
Yeah. And beyond these individual strategies, the video also points to some well-known companies that seem to have really embraced their biggest fears and turned them into strength.
Okay, like who?
Patagonia is a classic example they bring up. Their big fear. The potential negative impact of their own business on the environment.
Right, making outdoor gear.
Instead of trying to downplay it or hide it, they just leaned right into that fear. They made environmental responsibility their absolute core mission.
And that became their differentiator.
Totally. Transformed them into one of the most trusted, distinct brands out there.
What about Lego? The video mentioned them too.
Yeah.
With video games exploding.
Yeah, their core product, the plastic bricks, could easily have become, obsolete. That fear of irrelevance, it must have been huge.
But they didn't just dig in their heels and only make bricks.
No. They innovated, they formed alliances, like those incredibly successful Star Wars sets. They developed their own digital games and experiences. They took that threat and used it to basically secure their future.
Smart. Taking the fear and turning it into an innovation driver.
And think about Ben & Jerry's, just two guys starting out, right? Making ice cream against these massive corporations.
The fear of being crushed must have been immense.
You'd think. They could have tried to just copy the big guys, play it safe. But instead,
They leaned into their authenticity, their social values.
exactly, that became their unique selling proposition. It wasn't just brave, it created this totally unique spot in the market for them. They stood for something more than just ice cream.
So all these examples, these strategies, this idea of reframing, according to the source, it all leads to real, tangible benefits, right?
Yeah.
For the business and the person running it.
Oh, absolutely. The video is really clear on this. When you manage to transform fear into strategy, you start making firmer decisions. You're more decisive.
Makes sense. You're not stuck in analysis paralysis.
Right. And you develop a genuine growth mindset because you're not terrified of the learning curve of making mistakes.
You see mistakes as data, like you said earlier.
Exactly. You unlock more innovation, more creativity because you're willing to actually challenge the way things are done, to experiment.
And it impacts leadership, too.
Yeah, the source suggests you become a more human, more empathetic leader because you understand vulnerability, both in yourself and others, and maybe most importantly for the business itself, you achieve real differentiation, something that's hard for competitors to just copy.
And the flip side, if you don't face the fear, if you let it win,
Well, the source lists those consequences too. Paralysis is a big one. Just getting stuck.
watching opportunities just drift by.
Yeah. Stagnation. And trying to manage a business that feels like it lacks, I don't know, soul, direction, purpose.
So this whole deep dive, it really hammers home that central message from the video, doesn't it? Fear doesn't just magically disappear if you ignore it.
No way. It only transforms when you actually look it in the eye, when you engage with it strategically. Fear isn't the enemy here.
It's a teacher.
A demanding one, maybe. But yeah, a teacher.
You know, every significant entrepreneurial story seems to start with that potent mix. Fear, uncertainty, doubt. We hear about the successes.
Right. But the video reminds us those successes are built on top of that foundation with decision, purpose, action.
These huge ventures often started from a place that feels, well, pretty familiar to where a lot of us might be right now. Feeling scared, feeling unsure.
Exactly. And the point is, you don't need to wait until you feel 100% ready or totally fearless. That day might never come.
Use the fear. Use it as information.
Yeah. Use what you have right now. Do what you can. Build the bravery as you go along.
Your business, as the video seems to be saying, doesn't actually need perfection.
No. What it really needs is bravery.
So maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to take away something directly from the source material we've been discussing.
Yeah, think about this. What specific fear are you grappling with in your business or your idea right now? Like, really name it.
And then, based on everything we've talked about, seeing fear as that compass, maybe planning for the worst case, finding your community, visualizing success.
How could you start to see that fear differently, not just as this big roadblock you have to avoid?
But maybe as the raw material, the sort of unexpected ingredient for your very next strategic move. What could that look like?
Presentado por Marketing Interactivo, tu aliado en la creación de contenidos.